welcome to SeptumSin versus the World. This is the first pickup I'm actually going to be doing live here on YouTube. Well, not live, recorded here on YouTube. And I'm here with Jacob. He is also a blogger. Much like my blog, he has one on Hub Pages, isn't it?
Yes,
and,
Kotobukijake.
And I'm going to include that one below. He's got a lot more of the knowledge of the film, how it's put together, more actors, which usually trumps my knowledge on these things. So
You said a dirty word.
So I brought in 4 titles that I recently picked up, and then he also brought in some titles, so we thought we would share those with you. So my first title actually comes from a group called Zombie Orifice. It's the 3rd season of Journey Quest. Now, Journey Quest was actually funded through Kickstarter, both the 2nd and 3rd season, originally under the moniker Dead Gentlemen, which did series such as The Gamers, Demon Hunters, those types of series, usually kind of spoofy, a more comedy type. This takes place in a fantasy setting, following a sort of cowardly wizard who's discovering his way into being a hero. And though the series starts off almost in a campy comedy sort of way, I've seen this series actually develop quite nicely into a more dramatic series. Even the acting has gotten much better. I was quite impressed by this series. The only downside of it is season 4, who knows if it's going to come. I like a lot of these productions, these sort of low-budget productions, but you never know when they're going to kind of run out of steam. I've got this one signed. I'm hoping to get on board with the next Kickstarter. So, have you heard anything about these people, or what's your thoughts?
I know they're more under the old name, the Dead Gentlemen. The Gamers is an awesome series. Absolute essential viewing if you are a gamer or just appreciate that humor. Demon Hunters wasn't as fun, but there was what was the this?
Oh, the Dead Camper Lake promo, in my opinion, where they did the Blair Witch thing, where he's sitting there, I'm so scared of the demon himself.
And wasn't there an animated series they did? Or am I getting that confused with someone else?
Probably getting it confused with the ones from Dark Maze, the ones from
yeah.
Very similar.
Okay, yeah, I got that mixed. Sorry. But yeah, they did do an ongoing series, though. Was it this?
They did one. I've also got that one, House Rules, which is very similar to X-Strikes, because X-Strike did one called Off Campus. A lot of these companies are very similar in what they do. Some cover video games, some cover role-playing type things, and Dead Gentleman's been very much on that role-playing game, tabletop RPG type.
Lift with the legs, Rogar, not the back.
So that's my first pickup. Again, Kickstarter.
Okay, and I guess on the opposite end of the well, not the opposite exactly, but more, I guess, prestigious.
So that's one heck of a box right there.
Yeah, this is a heck of a box. Well, trying to show without glare. There we go. There we go, without the glare. Okay, this is deluxe edition of the movie The Mission, which came out in the mid-'80s. Robert De Niro and Jeremy Irons, and it was a pretty major awards contender, apparently up for Best Picture. And Ennio Morricone, the newly minted Oscar winner there, oldest guy to win an Oscar, is pretty good. Pretty good movie. Very atypical, not atypical, atypical film for De Niro. We actually had this at our campus library at our alma mater. And that's where I ended up watching in the first place. So I haven't seen it in over 10 years. But our local library, you can get some really cool stuff really cheap at the library.
So how much was it that it ended up being?
$2.
Oh, what? That price tag of $18.99.
Yeah, $18.99. And this is a brand new copy that was donated and ended up on sale for $2. And I have another one from that too. But that's like really fun. Of course, it's kind of dangerous being close so frequently to sources that are easy to, when you love DVDs and you're be near ones that are on sale cheap very often. It can get a little pricey, even when they're cheap.
Large scores of them do cost money in the end.
Yes.
Well, that De Niro. Actually, I did not remember that movie. It is, of course, it was the '80s. I wasn't very much into Oscar viewing back into the '80s. Just usually the winners. But who was it that won oldest that you were talking about?
Ennio Morricone.
So what did he win for?
Oh, he won for The Hateful Eight.
Okay, still need to see that.
Famed as the composer of the Man with No Name trilogy, and basically Tarantino just hero worships him. So when he had the opportunity to have him score a movie, and Tarantino pushed heavily for that win, so I think he tied Gloria Stewart, who won for Titanic. I think they are the oldest winners. I can't remember if it was 83 or 84 years old. Pretty old.
Wow.
So, and he's still making scores, which, I'll admit, most Morricone sounds like Morricone to me. I can't really pick them apart per movie, but they're good. It's good music.
Yeah, sit there. I mean, those movies, the original ones, the Clint Eastwood ones, those are actually quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very intense music.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, I have not seen it. One day. One day. I will see.
Well, if we ever get back to the movie game, it could go on the list. But
that is true. One day. One day.
Yes.
All right. So I've been reliving my nostalgia a lot lately. The more and more I look, the more and more old cartoons I used to watch in my youth have been put on DVD. Sometimes for cheap prices, actually.
Not enough of them, though.
So I'm going to show off one I got. I found it and I said, wow, $5 on Amazon, Earthworm Jim.
And now, it might be worth every penny.
I remember this as good, but remembering and actually seeing it aired in sometime. Sometime when I was younger. I don't remember when it aired. I think in the 90s.
Yeah,
I think this was part of that whole Fox sort of thing, like Bobby's World and Eek the Cat, those ones. I remember Eek the Cat only because Ross Perot was president of the United States and that. And I did like Earthworm Jim because it was very strange. I mean, it's about an earthworm that gets into a mechanized power suit and goes on adventures. I mean, that's about as strange as you get. And it has one of my favorite villains. And my favorite villain of all time for cartoons, Evil the Cat. I mean, you can't get more diabolical than Evil the Cat. I mean, he has freaking razors for claws right here. If you can't do much better than that. So it also has an evil goldfish and a couple other very strange critters. That's sort of a nice spoof of the superhero genre. I mean, do you remember much about Earthworm Jim?
I remember seeing that when it aired. I remember very little about. I remember the game better than the show.
Yeah, most of us remember the game. Yeah,
the game was. It's definitely this is a good example of something that is incredibly nostalgic. But when you come back to it now, you're like, do I want to, or do I want to leave that in my childhood? But I'd be curious to see it again one of these days.
I do have an example of one that I probably should have left in my childhood a little bit later on in this list. But I do have the games, the Earthworm Jim games, sitting on the Raspberry Pi over there. That's actually kind of cool. So I'm going to, I guess, pass it to you then.
Okay. Speaking of kids shows.
Oh yeah, that's a very, very... very nice kid show there.
Well, this was also something I got really cheap at the library. I couldn't believe it. I actually have gotten a modest amount of television. And again, $2 a pop. You could do much worse. And this one's kind of a weird one because this is a show that I have seen the first episode twice. I actually have the bonus disc that has the first 2 episodes, so I've seen them, but I had already seen the first episode. I saw a couple episodes here and there through the show, and I've seen the final episode. And that's it. And this show is Dexter, pretty big show not too long ago. Many people would. I think it's the third season they had John Lithgow. It's considered like a classic TV season. Season 2 was pretty highly rated too. I think it was like season 4 or 5 that people thought it took a nosedive. Yeah. But like I said, I've seen very little of it, but I enjoy what I've seen. It's just one of those ones that's just not really... The timing just hasn't worked out for me to delve into it. And now that I have these, I'll have to get season 1. But I don't know when that'll happen. And for various reasons, I'm not doing as much viewing as I want to do right now. But these will be fairly priority viewing once I get to them and once I get season 1.
Those are hour-long episodes. Yeah, they can be a drag on time right there.
Yeah, like right now I technically have Boardwalk Empire on the rotation, which is a great show. I love it. But hour long, it's taken me forever to get through season 1. And that's season 1 of 5. Dexter was what, 7 seasons or 8?
I think it was 7, but I could... So, actually, let me see. It's
you got it back here.
Somewhere.
Oh, there you go.
There
7,
you go.
8 seasons.
Yep, 8 seasons. There
8
you go.
seasons.
8
so you see what I got ahead of me. But
did I give you that bonus disc?
I think you did.
Because I remember my first season of it. It came with the bonus. Actually, no, something else came with the bonus disc. I saw it. I fell in love with the series, and the lead actor, he had also played the lead in The Dead Zone, which Stephen King adaptation. Another one I need to get into one of these days.
I saw a few episodes of that, and that was pretty good show too.
But it's actually one of my favorite series. The ending is, and I've heard that they're actually planning on doing sort of a revival season, which I'm kind of iffy about. But the first couple of seasons, especially those first 3, are amazing. The reversal that they do in the second season, I'm not going to do any spoilers, but they do sort of a cat and mouse game where Dexter is not always looked on as the hero. And this actually makes him quite an interesting character to follow. If you have not seen this series, I do recommend it strongly on Showtime. So, my next is also another add-on from Amazon. Again, another one that's very cheap on Amazon, and there's a good reason for it. Legend of Zelda, the original 1980s spin-off of Captain N, the Game Master. Captain N is, of course, ridiculously expensive because it is out of print. This says the complete season on it, but don't let it fool you. This is all 13 of the episodes of the series. I did the looking myself. I have taken a look at some of these. It has not held up well. And considering my memory of this series was not that fond to begin with, that goes to tell you. Link, he looks like he's 40 years old in the face, and he acts like a 90s teenager. And Zelda is a bit bratish and annoying at times. So, between all of the annoying characters, the kind of ugly animation, this is good nostalgia to have in your collection to say, ooh, I've got this to look at, but probably not nostalgia to watch through. At least in this person's opinion.
You said this came out in the 80s?
I think the 80s. 89, yes.
So if he acts like a 90s teen, then there's actually like some prescience there, isn't there? Like,
yeah, that's true. The late 80s, early 90s, but to tell you the truth, they did work out a lot. I mean, this company is actually putting out a lot of older shows. I found out a couple of old series that I watched in the 90s and 80s are coming out. Remember the animated Teen Wolf show?
Don't know that I really saw it, but
that one was being released in August. The Secret World of Alex Mack, which was one that I really liked. I was a Nick kid when I was in the 90s. And that one was also there. So I look forward to those releases. This, not so much. Do you remember anything from this or Captain N or in that area?
I don't know Captain N, but this isn't the one that was paired with the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, is it?
It could
like
have
in
a
the
relation.
early morning.
It could have a relation to it. He used to always do this, "Excuse me, princess." That was his line all over and over again, and that just gets on my nerves when he says that.
But I remember there was a Zelda show that was played in basically that time frame.
I think so, yeah.
I don't know if that was it. I barely remember it. I barely. I think I may have the Super Mario Brothers Super Show definitely qualifies as one that I have great nostalgia for.
Especially there's wrestlers in there.
But I have a feeling that, like, when I think I saw an episode 3 or 4 years ago and went like, the hell?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to one of these days revisit, but this may be the one that was paired with. I don't know.
It was in that time period, so it's very possible.
I just remember that was like those shows came on like 6:30 in the morning, which, looking back on it now, I can't believe as a kid I was willing to get up that early. It's like that I don't like 6:30 in the morning. Period.
So I remember when I would get up there, I would have my Super Mario, and actually I'd have my Nintendo cereal, and it would be half Mario and half Zelda. And the Zelda would be a fruit flavor, and the Mario would be kind of a throw-up flavor, vomit flavored. I'm sure it was
something.
It probably wasn't advertised as that, but that's what it tasted like. And I remember those.
Honest marketing.
It was one of those things where you got it for the marshmallow type stuff, and it was kind of cool. I remember they used to have a nerd cereal that did that too, where they had like the divided box, which it was kind of.
Was it Mario? I know. I remember there was a cereal like that. Like
it had one Mario, and then the other side was Zelda.
No, the idea where the marshmallows were like the only draw.
Oh,
like,
well,
I know when you're
when
you're a kid, Lucky Charms, the marshmallows are the main draw, and like now they do the marshmallows only cereal. It's like, well, yeah, that's good for your kids.
Hey, it was all sugar back then. It's all sugar now.
Hey, fool.
At least it's sugar mixed with healthy bits now. Don't mess.
Foo wants to give his opinion. All right, Foo.
That poor cat. But that's my take on that one. I've got one more, but I'm going to save that until our...
All right. So my next one, I'm actually really excited about this because this is a show I've been wanting for a long time. God knows when I'll ever get to watch it because it's an M, and going through my collection alphabetically, I'm still on H, playing catch up to get to H. Dexter is not going to help with that. But this is a series that is released by Right Stuff's in-house group, Nozomi, and they occasionally put it on sale. And for those of you who don't know Right Stuff, it's awesome, especially if you love anime, but even if you don't, it's still awesome. But this is a show called Maria Watches Over Us. Here's part 1. Actually, 4 parts to it. And these are the basic thin pack edition, which is not near as fancy. He has the nice edition.
Yep.
But entire set on sale for $60 was actually about as cheap as I've ever seen it and probably ever will.
I probably didn't get it.
It's a very highly acclaimed anime. It's probably one of the most acclaimed ones I've not seen. And it has a pretty awesome voice cast too. Like, I know Mamiko Noto's in it. I want to say Yui Horie, but I'd need to double check. There's Akeno Watanabe, I think, is in there. There's a whole bunch of really well-known ones. And it takes place, I think, at a girls' parochial school, which is kind of an unusual setting for a Catholic, girls' school. It's an unusual setting for an anime, but it's supposed to be really good, and one day I'll get to see it. But at least I have it now.
Well, Maria Hollick took place at a Catholic girls' school.
Very different show from what I understand.
Yeah, I've heard that this one's a little bit more serious than the other one.
Maria Hollick is an interesting and very fun show, but it requires a tolerance for certain types of shows. Yes. So, but
I ended up getting that as well a while back. Of course, mine are the bigger sets. They're the the special edition sets they had. But I actually think that this is Nozomi, right, to put that out? So yeah, Nozomi puts out some pretty good quality stuff. When you can get their limited sets, they're actually pretty solid sets. They're not the flimsy boxes. And Right Stuff puts out a good product and is usually a good store if you pay attention to it.
Right above my finger right there.
Oh, well,
that's their release of Aria. But you can kind of get an idea what he's talking about. Those look like pretty nice little sets, I'm sure. But that was another Nozomi release. But yeah. All right.
So, last one for me. Now I'm going to go onto the out of the realm of the animated and into the realm of horror. Now, I have not seen this film, but my wife tells me that she likes it better than the original. I was going through Second and Charles. I actually have, I think, $38 left in credit there. I'm slowly working that away. And I found this for $4. They were doing a buy 3, get 1, and this was my get 1. And so this is Open Water 2. Now, me, I am very OCD when it comes to my collecting. As you can tell, I've got all of Bleach behind me. I only really like the first 3 seasons of Bleach, but I cannot stand having only like a piece of something. I have to have the whole thing. So, Open Water 2, I knew it was coming out. It bothered me that I didn't have it, and now I actually have it. The original actually did have some kind of groundbreaking features to it. I mean, they actually had these people out in the water. They actually did their best to make it as real as possible, and it just let the environment itself play the fear game for you. Now, Open Water 2, I'm told, is even worse in the sense because they're sitting there and they can actually see their way out in front of them, but they can't get to it. And having hope just out of reach, that just adds that extra element of despair right there. I am interested in seeing it. It'll probably take a little while. My wife wants to watch it again with me, so I've got to just find a time where we both want to watch, and that'll be very interesting. Have you heard about this series?
Well, the first one was actually, I would almost say, kind of infamous when it came out because, like you said, they went for realism, and there were a lot of people that accused it of being downright exploitative. And I never did see it. I was curious, and I still am. I'd like to see it one day. I have very little curiosity for the sequel, partly because with a movie like that, where can you go? You know, you either go downright stupid or it becomes clearly scripted. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard. It would be nearly impossible to do something that's like right in that zone twice. You know what I mean?
And it's really easy. You just go out to the middle of nowhere, throw a couple people in the water, put a camera out there with a drone, and then you're good. You got the action.
You see
right
that
there.
a lot. You see that a lot though. Like I was one of the people that actually did find that Paranormal Activity was a pretty good movie. But the sequels, how can you really do that again and expect it to still work? Or getting away from the idea of a sequel per se, a franchise per se, you could look at like the stunts that Sacha Baron Cohen did. Like he got everything perfect with Borat. And then tried to do it again with Bruno, and by then too many people were in on the joke.
Yeah,
and that just didn't quite work.
And Borat is free at Second and Charles right now. Yeah. They got it in there free then. And even then, I wouldn't pick it up. It's just, but that's just
Borat's great. No, the only reason we saw Bruno though was our local theater paired it with Up, and that's just like, how can you not do that? Yeah. That was just so wrong on so many levels.
Somebody had an issue with the marquee when they put that up there. Yes. So it's
it was horrible and lovely. Okay.
Yep. So that's
and I guess I'll end with a horror. He gives me stuff now and then because he likes to reduce and consolidate, or he's better than I am at weeding stuff out. Of course, I tend not to get as much stuff that isn't... Like, I like to have a reason, usually, before I'll pick something up in the first place. I can't say I do that all the time, because I don't. But one of the ones that I'm pretty sure this is new to my collection, and it's kind of sad that I'm not 100% sure. I'm about 99% sure.
You have a record of that now.
I would hope so, yes. But speaking of horror movies, this is one that is one of those movies that everyone seems to acknowledge is an important movie. But you got people that love it and people that think it is grotesquely overrated, and then people that straight up hate it. And I fall in the middle. I do think it's grotesquely overrated, but I do think it's pretty good. This is the movie The Exorcist, And I know I'm going to get tons of hate for what I just said.
Oh, no worries. There's like 5 people that look at this, so you're good. You're good. Like
yeah, they probably all love the movie. But no, but this is it's not a bad movie, and I will fully acknowledge it is a classic. Like, it's a very influential and important movie, and as a collector, I had to have a copy, and free's a good price. Yeah. But it's like, will I be happy to see it again? Yeah, 2 viewings is usually. I think I've only seen it once, and I need 2 viewings to really, really rate something. But I can't say I'm excited to see it again, and I probably won't watch it again for several years after, unless I meet some like really, really awesome hot person that really wants to see it. It's like. But
my wife loves that one. That's one of her favorites of all time.
Well, I know, but she likes too much horror and not enough anime. And not enough horror anime. I keep telling you guys you need to watch Hellgirl. But anyway, so yeah, that would be a good example again. One that the other ones that I've gotten recently, not as important. Definitely not as important.
What are you talking about?
But yeah, so that I guess that's. Do we have a wrap up? Is that the idea? Or?
I mean, as far as my take on The Exorcist, I mean,
oh yeah.
I do want to say that I do believe that for what it is, it is a take. It's a new take on horror. It's kind of it brought it to a zone.
Is a new take?
And that's true. It brought it to a zone that it hadn't really been at before. There was an intensity to it, that level that you actually hadn't seen at that time, and in a place where, I mean, what year did that come out again? It was like
73, I think.
So it was like early. What's coming out during that time in horror? It was all slashers and blood and guts and Wizard of Gore.
That was an Oscar winner. So that's another important reason.
That's another reason why you would want it.
Adapted screenplay and sound.
You see, and I found
it's impressive for a horror film.
Blu-ray collection that had all of the films put together, and considering that the prequel movie. They did 2 different shoots of the movie, so on that set they actually include both shoots of that film. I was very happy to get that, and then of course I like to make sure that these films have a good home. I mean, it's a good movie, well acted, maybe overacted in pieces. Of course, my first exposure to The Exorcist was a movie called Repossessed, which was a spoof comedy about The Exorcist. And later on, I think about 6 or 7 years ago was the first time I've actually seen The Exorcist. So I'm actually quite happy I finally got to watch it. And just like the movie Silence of the Lambs, some of those movies I should have seen a long time ago, but because I was so against horror when I was younger, there was a lot I had to catch up on. But either case, this will be the end of this week's pickup. If things look good, we can keep doing this for a while and see how well we do. And if you like this, of course, thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. And of course, subscribe. If we get to 10 subscribers, I will do a collection tour. I do have a nice sized collection, so it's a nice thing, sort of a reward for getting 10 subscribers.
That's only a small portion there.
And of course, feel free to
Sorry,
comment.
Dude who posted that picture of the world's largest collection that was smaller than
I've got that case back here.
Oh, yes.
So, with that being said, I wish you all the best, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.